Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. I call the meeting of August 24th, 2021 of the Dupage County Board to order. And may I please ask Member Grant Eckhoff, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then please remain standing for invocation. Member Eckhoff. I'm delighted to introduce my friend and my spiritual leader from Immaculate Conception Church, Father Tom Paul, to lead us in invocation. Father Tom.
I'll repeat myself. Again, please let us bow our heads for a moment of silence as we begin. Almighty God, as we gather here today, once again we pray for your blessings upon the county board. We realize the importance of their efforts. We realize the many decisions that they continue to have to make. We recognize that they are here because they are concerned about the welfare of the citizens of Dupage County. We pray always that you guide their efforts. We know that you are the source of all truth. You are the source of all wisdom. You are the one who truly guides us along the way here while we live on this earth. And so again this day, may that guidance, that support, that wisdom continue to fall upon these board members. Help them in all that they do, that their willingness to serve you might be rewarded by the gratitude that they receive within their hearts, knowing that they are doing good with their lives. Bless them and bless all the needs that we have within us this day as we continue to pray for those who struggle with the virus, as we pray for the situation in Afghanistan, as we pray for the many needs that exist around us and in our world. We pray for your blessings upon all these needs that we offer to you, upon this meeting, and upon this group of men and women called to serve you in our county. We pray this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll. Chaplain.
Here.
Chavez. Here. Covert.
Here.
Desart. Here. DeCiani. Here. Eckhoff. Here. Garcia.
Here.
Hart. Here. Krajewski. LaPlante. Here. Ozog. Here. Pachowski. Here. Renahan. Here. Rutledge.
Here.
Schwarzy. Here. Selman. Here. Tornatore.
Here.
And Zay.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk, Mr. Deputy Clerk. On the order of Chairman's report this morning, we have a couple of presentations. And first and foremost, I'd like to invite a few folks to join me up here. Rick Colomé from Logistics, would you be kind of gather up here? Mike Watkins, Team Rubicon, Greg Hart, Member Greg Hart, Member Renahan, Member Krajewski, all from District 3. And while they make their way up here, I can offer some remarks. This past Father's Day in June, residents of Dupage County were shaken by a tornado that ripped through our county, causing damage from Naperville through Woodridge, Darien, Downers Grove, and Burr Ridge. As our staff mobilized to assist, we enlisted our Department of Transportation, Public Works, and Stormwater crews to assess the damage and to clear debris to ensure public safety. I want to once again thank our county, boots on the ground who provided muscle and expertise, that being Mike Tooman, Mike Figure, Sean Reese, and Sarah Hund. They led the county work crews, and we are very, very grateful. Thank you. Our communities were also grateful to a wonderful group of volunteer military veterans who rolled up their sleeves to help. Team Rubicon serves communities by mobilizing veterans to prepare, respond, and recover from disasters and humanitarian crises. Founded in 2010 after the Haiti earthquake, this organization has grown to over 140,000 volunteers across the United States and has launched over 800 operations, both domestically and internationally. Team Rubicon members served residents in Darien, Woodridge, Burr Ridge, and Downers Grove Township. They were there on the ground. Mike Watkins is the Director of North Branch Operations for Team Rubicon. He joins us today. Please allow me to read a proclamation and then I'm going to turn it over to Mike and ask you to share a few thoughts. The proclamation goes as follows. Whereas on June 20th, 2021, 3 tornadoes and storms with damaging winds rapidly moved through the Chicago metropolitan area, and whereas the most significant damage impacted Naperville, Woodridge, Darien, Burr Ridge, and unincorporated Downers Grove Township, where an EF3 tornado damaged hundreds of homes, downed thousands of trees, and caused numerous injuries. And whereas mutual aid requests went out throughout the region and to the Illinois Emergency Management Agency, Dupage County, and other agencies to assist with clearing debris from streets and property to ensure the safety of residents and allow for the assessment of storm damage. And whereas Team Rubicon, a 501c3 nonprofit that utilizes the skills and experiences of military veterans to rapidly deploy emergency response teams, agreed to provide additional assistance. And whereas Team Rubicon provided 192 volunteer days and an estimated 2,015 hours of service during its first disaster response to DuPage County's affected communities. And whereas the DuPage County residents, staff, first responders, elected officials, municipal staff expressed their appreciation to all who volunteered and served during the storm cleanup and recovery, especially Team Rubicon, whose assistance was vital during the weeks following the storm. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Daniel J. Cronin, Chairman of the County Board, members of the Board, do hereby recognize the hard work of Team Rubicon and the integral role they played in the June 20th tornado cleanup efforts. I'll entertain a motion. So moved and second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Approved this 24th day. I'm delighted. Where's Mike? Thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate it.
Well, he stole a lot of my thunder about who we are and what we do. But at the same time, really, our connections here on the ground with Rick Colomé and the Office of Emergency Management, John and Jeff specifically, helped get us engaged. So I just really want to thank them for the opportunity to bring our volunteers in and allow them to continue to serve. We're working to become like the fabric of the communities across the country. You've heard our numbers. We're making really good footholds here in DuPage County and across Illinois writ large. So thank you for the opportunity to serve.
All the best. Thank you so much. Thank you. Great work. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I'm going to introduce Karen from up here. So our next order on the chairman's report, we're delighted to welcome Karen Ayala to the podium. Where is she? There she is. So we've been closely following the health news, right? We've been consumed with that, or we are consumed with it. Following the health news as our nation grapples with the Delta variant of the COVID-19 virus. Karen Ayala, our award-winning Executive Director of the DuPage County Health Department, joins us this morning to give us a timely update. And Karen, thanks for joining us, and please take it away.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thanks so much for the opportunity to provide an update for you today. I would like to just preface this with, 3 months ago, this is not where we thought we would be, right? So to further highlight that, This is a screenshot of the community transmission that CDC provides to the country on their data tracker, COVID data tracker, dated July 20th. So you will see the vast majority of Illinois at that point was in yellow. And just as a reminder, the lowest transmission is blue, then yellow, then orange, then red. So there's July 20th. You'll see July 31st. And you will see August 21st. Now, how is this happening? We have a vaccine that we keep hearing is effective, and it is, but the one variable that has changed is the virus itself. Again, I think one of the lessons that we have been provided an opportunity to learn with this pandemic response is that of humility, and that the other is that science is an evolving process, and what we know today is not what we'll know a year from now. What we knew last year has in fact evolved and developed over the past year. But what we know about the Delta variant is that it now makes up over 98% of the sequenced cases. This is up from 2% of those cases in mid-May. And it's really concerning because the Delta variant is more contagious. It's more than 2 times as contagious as previous variants, and I remember also talking to you about the viral load within individuals who are infected. It's still unclear whether the Delta variant causes more severe illness than previous strains in unvaccinated people. You know, there's 2 studies, one from Canada, one from Scotland, talking about how patients infected with Delta variant were more likely to be hospitalized than those infected with Alpha or the original virus strains. Or the other competing thought that we're working our way through is it just that more people are contracting Delta, so we're seeing some of these more severe outcomes. Still, with all of this, unvaccinated people remain our greatest concern and our biggest public health challenge. Although breakthrough infections happen much less often than infections with vaccinated people than unvaccinated individuals, individuals infected with Delta variant, including fully vaccinated people, with symptomatic breakthrough infections can transmit it to others. So CDC is continuing to assess the data. We know that there's much less risk of transmission amongst vaccinated people. And again, the greatest risk of transmission is among unvaccinated people. One of the lessons that in epidemiology that we learned early on was the concept of R0. The number of people that one sick person will infect on average is referred to as R0. There are maximum R0 values for a variety of viruses that we're now putting side by side. And the original strain of COVID-19, the R0 was between 2 and 3 people. So one infected person would potentially infect 2 to 3 people. The Delta strain is estimated to be at 6 to 7 individuals. Now, how does that compare to Ebola? The 1918 flu, that was 2 people, R0 of 2. From a different perspective, measles, the disease that we know is the most highly contagious, has an R0 of 18. So we see this case count and community transmission across time on this slide. And we see that the number of cases is as high as it was back in May of last year. We also see that each of our populations, ages of populations, have been impacted across the county. And in fact, you'll see the green line, which is the age group of 50 to 79, 60 to 79 actually being higher than it was previously. When we look at, but again, we know that cases, if they're mild, aren't a concern. So what we're most closely watching is the severe outcomes in our community. And you'll see this is the daily report that we receive from our hospitals. We had on July 15th, we had a total of 20 individuals in our hospitals, none in the ICU unit. And we contrast that with the 17th of August, and you see that we now have 115 individuals in the hospital with 24 in the ICU. We're also hearing reports increasingly of hospital, particularly ICU capacity constraints. One ICU bed in the southern 20 counties of the state of Illinois is available, and less than 20% of ICU beds in suburban Cook and McHenry are now available. And this is a concern, again, I'd remind you, not just because of COVID, but if we have COVID individuals in those ICU beds, and we have residents who have a heart attack or who have a car accident or something else requiring an ICU bed, then our capacity to address those concerns is minimized. When we look at our data locally around the difference between that vaccine provides and the level of protection that vaccines provide based on cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. And this is a breakdown as of May 1st to current. Now, why we did May 1st instead of back in January is because we all remember vaccine was not widely available in January. And so we really wanted to wait until there was a more robust supply of vaccine available in our community. And we had our highest vaccination days in April. So we chose May 1st. We see that of the new cases identified, over 91% are in persons who are not fully vaccinated. When we look at the hospitalized cases, so we take the cases and then we look at the hospitalized cases, a much smaller population, over 95% of hospitalized cases were in persons not fully vaccinated. And when we look at deceased cases, which is again a much smaller number, we see that 90%, over 90% of cases of individuals who have died were in persons not fully vaccinated. Yesterday, a big day for vaccine, and it was the day that the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine for the prevention of COVID-19 disease was fully approved for individuals ages 16 and older. We continue under the emergency use authorization for individuals 12 to 15. And now we're seeing that the administration of a third dose in individuals with certain immunocompromised conditions, as well as the upcoming booster doses, are being recommended. This bottom chart is a screen grab off that CDC COVID data tracker, where you'll see that our rates of vaccination, fully vaccinated individuals, is high, and yet even then we have about 58% of our total population who has received the full coverage and protection of vaccination. We contrast that with relatively and significantly higher rate of individuals over the age of 65, which stands at 83 almost 84%. Now, clearly, our highest level of vaccines and vaccinations happened in the spring. However, we continue to promote vaccination across our community. We've administered, though, a total of about 500 doses in 2 months using our caravan. Again, that contrasts with our high days over at the fairgrounds when we had thousands of people. But every day that we get 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 or 50 individuals vaccinated is a good day. So where do we go from here? We know that we will need to provide the additional dose for the moderately to severely immunocompromised individuals. We know that booster doses for all individuals over the age of 18, once it's worked its way through the FDA and ACIP process, will be eligible for the 3rd dose. And we also anticipate that pediatric doses for less than 12-year-olds will be available this fall. So we are making plans, we are working with our community partners, and we are exploring ways of reinstituting our mass vaccination clinic for those efforts. So, questions?
Questions, Member Dessart?
Thank you, Chairman. Karen Ayala, thank you so much for everything you've done. Thank you for helping me to set up those vaccine clinics in Aurora, or our next one is coming up this coming Sunday, as a matter of fact. Thank you so much for making that happen for my community in District 5. My question is, talking about the booster shots, and you had a slide up there talking about cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. Those with breakthrough COVID cases, COVID illnesses, are we seeing a trend like, is somebody who was vaccinated in January more likely to get a breakthrough case than, say, somebody vaccinated in May?
So with our breakthrough cases, we're tracking the number of cases, but from a statewide perspective, IDPH is only looking at hospitalizations and deaths. What we know from hospitalizations and deaths is that the breakthrough cases are happening in people who either have some sort of compelling underlying health condition, they're of an age that perhaps their immunity system doesn't mount as robust a response, and they have multiple chronic conditions. So
that could go together. I mean, the people who had chronic conditions or were older were vaccinated earlier.
Absolutely.
So there could be some correlation between that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're going to call on Member Ozog next, but before I do, I see Member Covert, and I need to seek leave of the body to permit Member Covert to participate remotely. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Member Covert, you're welcome to the meeting. You were here from the start, but now it's official. We're going to call on Member Ozog, followed by Member Covert, followed by Member Chaplin, followed by Member Hart. Member Ozog.
First of all, Karen, I was happy to be at the Dupage Mayors and Managers Dinner where you were honored for your work and your staff's work, and that was very well earned. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for everything you've done these past months. My question is about the certification by the FDA of the Pfizer vaccine. I understand that allows more distribution. It can be distributed in doctor's offices, et cetera. Any word on what's going on with the Moderna and the Johnson & Johnson?
Right. Yeah, our understanding is that Moderna has submitted their documents for full FDA approval, and so they're working their way through that process, and my further understanding is that Johnson & Johnson has not yet compiled those documents for that approval.
So Moderna has submitted?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Member Covert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to thank you, Karen, for all the hard work that you do and your staff. You guys have been incredibly amazing during this process. I had a question about, do we have any information or statistics on children under the age of 12 in DuPage County being hospitalized or affected by the Delta variant? Because I know a lot of parents are concerned that their little ones under the age of 12 are not vaccinated. So
Yes.
just wanted to know if we've seen anything here in DuPage County in terms of hospitalization rates or deaths or anything like that.
So, and I'll say this with all sincerity, blessedly, we have had no pediatric deaths as a result of COVID-19, regardless of the strain, and for that we are phenomenally grateful. I believe that in the state of Illinois there have been over 300 pediatric deaths, and there certainly have been deaths to individuals from the surrounding counties that occurred in DuPage, but they're not attributed to DuPage because of their county of residence. So, do we have data? So that's one answer. And we have had, I believe, about, and I'm looking to Chris, 1,000 kids who have been hospitalized. Okay, 300, 0 to 19, who have been hospitalized over the course of this. So without a doubt, the impact on pediatrics, particularly with the original virus, with alpha variety, they show great protection. The challenge that we're seeing now in the Delta variant, and we don't have the breakdown for Illinois or for DuPage, but what we're seeing from across the country is that there is more severe disease in peds with the Delta virus, so we're watching that very closely. It's one of the reasons that, you know, with schools being in session, particularly with unvaccinated kids, we want to really keep the number of mitigation strategies in place so that we can protect them until the vaccine is available.
Member Chaplin.
Thank you, Chairman Cronin. Thanks, Karen. Thanks for your presentation, and thanks to you and your department for all the great work you've been doing the last 18 months. I know it's been crazy. So I just have two questions. Well, maybe it might lead to more, but what % of DuPage County residents are vaccinated now? Are they fully vaccinated?
So let's pull, can we pull the presentation back up?
This is a test for you, Joe.
Did I miss it?
So of the total population, 58.3% are fully vaccinated.
Okay.
Of the eligible population, we're at 68%.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, Cook County recently put mask indoors policy for all indoor businesses and things like that. Do you see that in the DuPage's near future with our rates going up, or?
Well, we certainly are recommending that when people are indoors, they mask up. We think that's a great strategy to employ. We don't have the authority, the same level of authority as Cook and other home rule communities to issue those kind of orders, but I do think it's very, very smart from a public health strategy standpoint.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Member Hart.
Thank you, Chairman Cronin. Karen, again, like everyone mentioned, really want to thank you and your whole team for all you've been doing. You've been pillars of strength in this community since the pandemic started, so really appreciate that. I have two questions, one on vaccines and the second on school protocols. On vaccines, given that boosters are going to be rolled out fairly soon, do we anticipate any supply issues with the vaccine, or are we in a better spot?
We are assured that vaccine supply, as well as all of the necessary ancillary supplies, will be available to us. So we do not anticipate that.
Okay, that's great to hear. On school protocols, I've received a couple of outreach emails from people in my district. I know I've shared them with you. One of them had to do with the desire of one particular school district in District 3 to implement test-to-stay strategies. And I know the health department had advised against that. Can you kind of talk through that decision-making process? And
Sure. So first, we'll start globally. CDC and Illinois Department of Public Health actually defers the options for quarantine and isolation to local health departments. So it is under the authority and the responsibility of local health departments to manage the specific isolation quarantine guidelines. Now, when CDC's school guidance came out, there was not a test-to-stay strategy that was provided as a recommendation through that document. And so when IDPH offered that option, it was a little bit confusing. So as a local health department and the executive of the local health department, we are not currently offering the test to stay, which is essentially allowing children who have been exposed but masked, so they're within 3 feet for more than 15 minutes. They may or may not, or they would not be vaccinated, because if they were vaccinated, they would fall into a different bucket. The test to stay strategy says if they agree to, and if the school provides testing on day 1, 3, 5, and 7, they can remain in the classroom. And where we have some concerns at, and why we are not supporting this recommendation at this time, is because of the extremely high level of community spread that we're experiencing right now. The fact that schools have not had the number of children in the classroom for the last 18 months, and some of the implementation kind of issues. So if you have a county that has 1,000 kids, perhaps you can manage this with a manual system. But when you have 300,000 students that this may apply to, it's a much more complex kind of process. So we are working with IDPH, and what we're telling our school partners is we're not having this available right now. It's not ever. It's just right now we're not allowing that.
thank you.
Okay, Member Schwarzy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple questions. First, sticking with the schools, what is the health department's role in mask policies in schools?
So our policy, or our authority with schools is limited to, our formal authority with schools is limited to only isolation and quarantine processes. All of the other mitigation strategies is, the authority is held by ISB and IDPH.
Okay, thank you. Now, moving on to boosters. With regards to boosters, if you had a specific vaccine, does the booster have to also be that specific vaccine, or can you mix and match?
That's the current recommendation, is whatever you got for your first series is what you should get for your second, or for the third shot.
And then my last question, and you may have answered this, so sorry if I missed it. Again, with regards to boosters, do we have a specific date set for when the county will start offering boosters?
We don't. We're in the process of developing our plans. Again, the White House Advisory Council came out last week and said, put a pin in the calendar of September 20th. But there are several steps that are really outside of everyone's control, that being the FDA approval for this, as well as then the subsequent ACIP, the CDC ACIP recommendations. But we are looking at like that third week of September of getting started.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Member LaPlante, followed by Member Pachowski, followed by Member Tornatore.
Thank you very much, Chairman Cronin. Thank you so much, Karen, to you and your staff for being such a steady and stalwart hand at the wheel, guiding us through this horrible storm. Absent a crystal ball, can you please help us imagine or guess at what's coming using, obviously, the data that you have? for the next month, the next 2 months, what you see as upcoming risks, and what we can do as elected officials to lead by example and to help to the best of our ability to support the health department in fighting this pandemic.
Sure. Well, I say sure, and then I no. I think the important thing to remember is really no one knows what comes next, right? We have the benefit of data, we have the benefit of some national experience, we have the benefit of some global experience to be shared with us. But when we look at Israel, the lessons are pretty sobering. Israel has a very high rate of vaccine coverage across their population, and yet they are dealing with these surges in much the same way as we're seeing. We do know that vaccine is the very best strategy to get us out of this pandemic. Now, it can't be, unfortunately, anymore vaccine alone. So vaccines with masking when inside is critically important. And I would implore people, regardless of your personal beliefs, as elected officials and leaders in this community, I think modeling the behavior that's coming from public health leaders nationally and globally is essential in really working our way through this. Unfortunately, the fire of COVID, of Delta variant, you saw the map of the country kind of turning red. And meanwhile, you haven't seen a lifting that we would expect from the south to the north of maybe we're burning our way through it, maybe, we've gotten through the worst of us. We're still not seeing that happen. So my concern for the next couple of months is that we're going to see continued high rates of transmission. And during those months, we're not sure if we're going to have the vaccine available for our younger residents. And so it is incumbent. One of the best things we can do for schools to keep kids in schools is to reduce the amount of community transmission. And that's where we'd like to really focus our efforts in Dupage County, is to reduce community transmission. And to do that, it's the vaccine, it's the masking, it's the staying out of large gatherings. It's the, staying home when you're ill, getting tested when you have symptoms or have been exposed. So those are the ways that come to mind.
Thank you so much.
Member Pachowski.
Thank you, Karen. Commissioner Selman and I live in Addison. Every time we have these, we always ask what's going on with our Hispanic community that has a language and cultural difference. Where are they at with vaccinations, or where are we at with our success rate with those who have that language or cultural disadvantage?
And if I could take the next question, and while I'm taking the next question, Chris can get me that information, that would be great.
Okay, do you have another question, Don?
No, that's it. Thank you, Chairman.
So we'll go to Member Tornatore and then pivot back to Don in a moment. Member Tornatore.
Thank you, Karen. I think it's important to remember when we talk about 300 kids, 0 to 19, being hospitalized in the county, to counteract those who think that kids are somehow immune, that probably the reason there was only 300 because they were pretty much locked in for the past 18 months. And as the summer came and now as kids are getting back to school, I hope I'm wrong, but that number might go up. So it's important to remember that. This being the flu season and flu shots, I'm getting calls, and I have a question myself. Is the flu shot in any way counter to what we're getting with the COVID shot? Can you have both? Can you get them together? I mean, is there some time frame for which you should get one versus the other, particularly now that boosters may be available in the fall when a lot of people are getting their flu shots?
Yeah, great question. So there is no contraindication to flu shots and COVID-19 shots. In fact, we encourage you to get both. You can get both on the same day. There's talk, and probably won't happen this year, but in upcoming years that perhaps they'll put those two vaccines together in the same shot. it's important to get, because COVID, again, is not the only contagious respiratory illness that we have to worry about. And so, yes, we strongly support continued compliance with flu vaccinations.
Member Porchowski.
Yes, yes. Chris?
Yeah, so the first part of the answer is about the Addison, correct? Unfortunately, we don't have So the first part of the question about specific rates for race ethnicity by municipality, we don't have that level of data. So what we know is about the race and ethnicity breakdown of individuals across the whole county. So we know a little bit about each zip code. We know the number of people in general that have been vaccinated, but can't yet break down exactly who in that makes up those that have been vaccinated. In terms of the percentage of Hispanic individuals across the county that have been vaccinated, so those that have had both doses, that data too is the limitation. I'm just going to put the caveat out there that we rely on every provider to report that information to us. So unfortunately, there's a lot of missing data in that. So we know that 60% of vaccine recipients, we don't have data about them. So these rates are not as clean as you would like them to be. Right now, it looks like we have 6% of Hispanic population has received, 6% of DuPage County residents who have received vaccine are Hispanic. That compares to 13% of our population in general that reports being Hispanic. So that data is, there's a lot of missing information in there. We'd love to have more about that. And we can share a lot more statistics with you specifically about the county or other spots that you're interested in. Does that help?
Yeah, and at the same time, many of our events with the Caravan, as well as IDPH's efforts, are focused on areas of the community who are underserved. So going to the Las Carnitas grocery store or going to some of those other key areas has been an important criteria for us.
Member Eckhoff.
I just want to echo what everyone else has said. Thank you for all your hard work. I'm sure this has been the challenge of a lifetime, and hopefully we'll be through this in a little while. I did want to express a concern, I guess I have, with the way that the facts seem to be reported regarding the Delta variants. Because it seems that every time I turn around, I read in the newspaper, I hear on the news that everything is surging or spiking or skyrocketing. And the press likes to use that language, but if you read further in the report, the total cases that they're talking about maybe went from 12 to 22. And it seems to give the false impression that we're going back into the exact same thing we were in November, December, in January. And if you look at the last map or graph that you put up there, we're not even close to that. I think the number of total cases is probably about 80% less. And yet we've got a reporting system that codes this as high, which means I don't know what December, January, or November, December, and January were, because they must have been super duper high. We've got a 4-step reporting process that when people hear high, they think, well, that's the highest it could be, so it must be just like November, December, and January, and it's not even close. The number of deaths per day, when I used your chart, it seemed like we were at about 9 deaths per day. But we don't report that in July, the last 3 weeks of July of this year, we didn't have any deaths. And in August, we only had, I think, you're up to 6 now. So, and I think all of that is to your credit, because you've done such a great job of getting people in DuPage County vaccinated that we're probably doing a lot better. But I wish there was a little bit more pushback against the type of language that sensationalizes what's going on here today, because words matter and words are important, and people don't always read the rest of the story. And to try and equate what's going on now, even the chart that you put up during your presentation shows that during the last 7-day rolling period, the number of cases are going down. So I think that needs to get out, because it's not all bad news. It's good news that you've done a great job for us, which is why things are much better now than they were in November, December, January, and February. And I think because of your hard work, we're not going to get back to that point. But I really wish we had a 10-step system, because December, January, and February would be at 10, and now we'd be at 2.
Right.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's trying to thread a needle to communicate the level of risk in a nuanced way with a public health pandemic. And so certainly we have seen a dramatic and sharper increase in the number of cases with Delta than we did in previous. But yes, because of the vaccination efforts, we don't see the as many.
Okay, thanks. All right, anyone else seeking recognition wants to ask a question? I don't see anyone seeking recognition. Karen, thanks again.
Thank you.
I have a few remarks I'd like to share with you, nothing too lengthy. So I'd simply like to add my congratulations to those offered by the members of the Dupage Mayors and Managers Conference, and I know we all expressed our appreciation for Karen and the Health Department. All of you are well aware that the Dupage Mayors and Managers recognized the Health Department with the 2021 Intergovernmental Cooperation Award. So again, Karen, thank you. Chris Hoff, thank you. The whole board president, Sam Tornatore, all the folks that have worked so hard. I know we've had these weekly conference calls with the mayors and managers, and it's been a really good exercise. Sometimes it's been quite challenging, but I think it's a credit to everybody that's participating that there really is this commitment to collaborate and work together, and it's delightful to know that the mayors and managers recognize the health department for those efforts. So congratulations on your award. Looking forward, I know staff and countywide elected officials have been working closely to flesh out our annual budget requests. I ask all to continue this work in good faith, please, in good faith. We have about a month to go before we bring the final budget request to the board for consideration. Also on the calendar for September, as we typically do, we bring forward the holiday schedule for your approval. I will be submitting that holiday schedule for your consideration and approval. I just want to let you know on that proposed schedule you will see that I am proposing and advocating that we celebrate the Juneteenth holiday as a day off for our employees, which according to the guidelines would be celebrated on Monday, June 20th, 2022. So with that concludes my report, and we move to the order of business entitled Public Comment. My understanding is we have quite a few folks that are seeking to offer commentary. I am going to advise all those that are participating in this meeting, listening, watching, that we will adhere to our rules. According to our rules, members of the public are afforded time to address the board. Individual remarks, whether they're in person or they're submitted via electronically and email, shall not exceed 3 minutes in length as they're read. So nor shall the total time provided for all remarks exceed 30 minutes. So it's, what time is it right now? It's about 11:15, and I'm going to ask...
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please. Who's there? Oh, Member Ozog.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, since we've just heard from Karen Ayala in discussing transmission of this Delta variant, I would request that all speakers, including yourself right now, wear their masks when they are speaking. I think we can all be heard, enunciate more clearly, but we need to keep our masks on.
Okay, I'll try my best.
We requested everyone
Thank you.
entering the building do so, and I request that you and anyone else speaking today does that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So are you going to announce the, I get to do it, huh? Okay, first on the list is Chris Peacock from the village of Lisle. He's also the village president of Lisle, I believe. Mr. Peacock.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and esteemed board members. First off, I want to congratulate the DuPage County Health Department and Karen Ayala for for the work that they've done, but I'm here for another purpose. My name is Chris Pisak, and I come before you as the mayor of the Village of Lisle on behalf of its residents and businesses. I'm here today to ask for the county's assistance as a local partner in the U.S. Army Corps East Branch Dupage River project, including the Lacey Creek Restrictor and the Lisle Levee. I'd like to thank the members I've already had the privilege of meeting with to discuss this issue personally. In the 1960s, a levee was constructed by the state of Illinois along portions of the east branch of the Dupage River and St. Joseph's Creek. The levee consists of an earthen berm located at the water's edge and prevents the overflow onto adjacent land. Levee crest elevations appear consistent with the elevations of a flood event with a 50-year recurrence interval, or a flood event that has a 2% chance of occurring in any given year. The existing and fractured ownership of the levee does not allow for comprehensive maintenance to be undertaken, and as a result, limited maintenance of the levee system has been performed over the years. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers conducted a feasibility report for possible improvements along the river due to the widespread flooding in 2013. This study was done in partnership with Dupage and Will counties. In August 2019, the Army Corps' Dupage River feasibility study was approved by the federal government, and 3 separate projects were authorized to move into the design and implementation phase. The design and implementation phase. The 3 projects consist of, first off, the Lisle Levee elevation, repair and elevation of the Lisle Levee to the Army Corps of Engineers 1% or 100-year flood elevation. And this addresses the East Branch of Dupage River and St. Joseph's Creek levees referenced above. This level of protection will not result in a FEMA-certified levee structure, however. This also includes, though, the Lacey Creek restriction, which is storage of approximately 283 acre-feet of floodwater located north of Lisle in unincorporated Dupage County. It also includes non-structural components of the plan consisting of acquisition and floodproofing of structures throughout the watershed. DuPage County has been involved with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers since the inception of the study. In early June, the Village of Lisle learned that the DuPage County lost interest in being the local partner. In early August, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers funding had been threatened to be reallocated to other projects. In an effort not to lose this U.S. Army Corps of Engineers interest, the Village of Lisle agreed to become the local partner. The current design of the 70-year-old levee system is such that during times of high water inside the levee, the village's access is severely limited by protective gravity flap gates. This allows stormwater from outside the community to pass through, while Lisle's access is restricted. For this reason, the Village of Lisle appeals for a more regional approach to refurbishing this levee and asks for the county's involvement back as the local partner. The Lisle levee provides flood protection for approximately 175 structures in Illinois Route 53 and will restore the structural integrity of the levee, providing additional flood protection to the affected area. The Army Corps provided the following estimates for the project. Design costs of $700,000 with a local cost share of $250,000, and total project costs of $6.082 million with a local cost share of $2.128 million. It includes $1.137 million in cash and $991,000 in land acquisition and easement costs. Many parts of that land has already been acquired by DuPage County. Design costs are included in the overall total local cost share estimate of $2.128 million. I thank you for your time this morning and appreciate the board's consideration in this matter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Marcia Patterson, please. Marcia Patterson. Oh, I'm sorry. She's a record of attendance only from Naperville, subject matter new election equipment. Lisa Moldock, she's a record of attendance as well, subject matter voting machines. Mary Holbein, here to offer testimony. Mary Holbein.
I'm Mary Holbein, and I'm speaking on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Downers Grove, Woodridge, and Lisle in support of purchasing new election equipment. Now, there's no doubt that we need it. What we've got is old, it's outdated, and it's not even supported by the manufacturer. But I would like to propose that we adopt the proposal that Clerk Jean Kesmerick and her committee has so diligently researched. They narrowed it down to 3 different companies, and they researched all of them, they visited them, they tested the machinery, they did everything possible to determine which would be best, and they unanimously decided that they wanted HART. Now, some of the advantages of HART are that it's 100% paper, that this paper is printed on demand. So you only have to print the paper when you're actually voting. There's no surplus, which also means a cost saving because we don't have to keep buying more and more ballot paper. It's also environmentally friendly. Another advantage is that if the state should ever decide to go to ranked choice voting, this system can accommodate it. The ballots are uniform, whether they're early, day of, or vote by mail. This is a security measure. And as I have heard, that the vote by mails are counted separately, so you can know which is which, but the security measure is there. There's also security in terms of the electronic stuff. There's just so many advantages to this system that I don't think that we should get nitpicky about what the cost may be a little more, well, maybe a lot more than some of the other systems. But at the same time, there's a long-term savings as far as the paper. And also, voting is a cornerstone of our democracy. Why should we go the cheap? This is so important to all of us. And we need to do what is up to date. It should be supported. It should be a priority of the county board, and all of us to have well-functioning voting equipment. Thank you.
Carol Jean Davis.
Good morning, County Board. I'm Carol Jean Davis. I'm a District 2 constituent, and I'm also a Dupage County election judge. And I was going to ask you guys to vote for those 2 agenda items, but now they have been pulled. But a lot of my other comments are still extremely pertinent. At today's finance meeting and at previous meetings dating back, according to my notes, 2019, there has been extensive discussion about the need for new election equipment. So none of what was presented today should have come as a surprise, not even the big price tag. When asked where the money would come from, even before today, it was stated that reserves should be used. And now I understand that because it was an appropriation, they needed 2/3, that's why it was pulled. But the money is there, and we have known for quite some time that this would be a major expenditure, especially since it will feature traceable, easily audited physical paper ballots. Elections, like many other financial responsibilities of the county, are expensive. And so I want to talk a little bit about county expenditures. Every time I come to a board meeting, and I come to all of them or I watch them at home, the board routinely approves many things in the millions of dollars. And at this same meeting today, in a few minutes, or maybe an hour, the board will appropriate $3.2 million in traffic light improvements and $1.5 million for a central sign system expansion. That's getting pretty close to $5 million. And a big problem with the proposed system was that it was $5 million and some change over another system. We approve things in the millions of dollars all the time at this county board. We often combine them together, and then we hear a second most favorable role and leave granted several times in a meeting. And that's fine, and it's probably how it should be. This county has a budget in excess of $476 million, and that doesn't include the reserves. So why doesn't the same thing happen when it comes to funding our elections? This isn't my first time talking here. It's not my second. It's not my third. Why is there continual, predictable opposition? Aren't our elections as important as our roads and traffic signals? Aren't they as important as the dog food? Aren't they as important as the milk for the care center? I'd like to think so, but sometimes I really wonder. Our county clerk and the election division that they oversee should not be in what appears to be a continuous uphill battle to fund our elections. It is the county's responsibility to fund elections. I started being an election judge in 2017. Before that, I was up in Lake County. And at my first election, I knew what we were using was destined for the dustbin. And that was 4 years ago. And now here we are in 2021 with equipment so old, it's illegal. We have to get a new system. And now it's going to be put off for 3 weeks. Every minute counts. I'm an election judge. We have to train 3,000 judges on this equipment. $5 million is nothing to this board. So stop trying to do elections on the cheap, please. The $5.5 million difference between the vendors is nothing. We need a new system, and we need it soon because we have to train 3,000 judges on it. Thank you.
Barbara Lamons. Barbara Lamons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and County Board members. As an election judge, I was pleased that the purchase of the new election equipment was on the agenda for today's meeting. I was hoping that once again this board would act in a bipartisan manner to approve the recommended purchase of new equipment for 2022 and beyond, as they did at the May Finance meeting. As the county clerk stated in her May 11th presentation to the Finance Committee requesting the authority for an RFP, Dominion Voting, which holds the license for our current voting equipment, will no longer support our current voting system. Marnie, legal counsel at the Illinois State Board of Elections, and Dupage legal counsel confirmed that voting machines without the required support cannot be used in any election go forward. I would like to thank the board for reaching bipartisan consensus in May that a major investment in updated voting equipment must be made prior to 2022 elections. It is time to replace the optical scan equipment that was purchased in 2001 and the touchscreen equipment that was purchased in 2006. The new equipment will be far superior with the innovations in security, environment, and technology for disability access that will prevent previous concerns. As you know, the Illinois State Board of Elections limits purchasing of equipment to only 3 companies, Dominion, ESS, and HART, due to the rigorous process of approval. I wish you all had taken the time to be present for the presentations held by the companies in response to the RFP, or reached out to the clerk with your questions prior to the meeting, so there would be no delay. We need to act now. I strongly urge you to approve the contract for the new election equipment. The $10,641,635.98 contract falls within the anticipated cost that was presented to you on May 11th, 2021. The Election Division has done its due diligence and reached a recommendation based on their expertise that I hope you will honor and recognize. In reviewing the procurement documents provided in today's board packet that was available last week, HART received the highest ranking from staff that resulted in a unanimous recommendation that should be honored. HART will provide 24/7 support, are in 800 jurisdictions across the country with strong positive feedback. Ballot uniformity, which is important to avoid voter confusion, and has the capability of providing ballots on demand, which will serve the voters of Dupage well with the passage of a new state law requiring election authorities to establish vote centers. The investment in our election infrastructure is vital to assure your constituents that elections in Dupage are secure and accessible. And just one more point. Speaking on behalf of all the election judges, we deserve a raise. Thank you.
Okay, Bernie Lazewski.
Thank you. I'm Bernie Lashesky of Glen Ellen. I live in District 4. I am here representing Voter Services for the League of Women Voters of Glen Ellen and my co-chair, Erica Nelson. I came here to ask for your support of this resolution, which has been polled. Based on today's earlier board discussions, The county board members were given opportunities to participate in the evaluation of the voting equipment under consideration. It was said that such evaluation was the work of the staff. Well, the election division staff did the hard work. They did their due diligence and provided their professional recommendation to the board. The 625,000 registered voters in Dupage County require and deserve a state-of-the-art voting system that will ensure the highest level of ballot security and accurate vote counts. As co-chairs of voter services of the League of Women Voters of Glen Ellen, we ask that you support this resolution to fulfill your responsibility to the people of Dupage County, providing the most efficient, up-to-date, and secure elections for all registered voters in the county. Thank you.
Margaret Brownlee.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Margaret Brownlee. I'm a resident of Westmont, a PC for 15, an involved voter, and a supporter of free and fair elections for all voters. I would like to open my comments with a quote from Alex Halderman, University of Michigan computer science professor, who was part of the Commission's troubling report on Georgia's recent use of Dominion BMD's voting devices. The quote is, "The solution is simple. Switch to hand-marked paper ballots." As a regular citizen, I've always trusted that my vote counted regardless of the manner in which I voted. But in some recent years, many voters started to hear questions about the security of our votes, and in particular, our voting machines. My concern and interest were piqued, and I wanted to find out about these doubts about election security and see if they were valid. I wanted answers for myself and for my constituents. For nearly a year, I searched through multiple resources regarding the safest method of voting. As a result, I'm here to fully support our County Clerk, Jean Kosmarek, in retiring touchscreens and using paper ballots. I would like to reference an internationally renowned expert also called Dr. Andrew Appel. He is, again, a professor of computer science at Princeton. He has published articles on election security, and in 2016, he was called to testify before Congress during an investigation into voting methods in America. In his final recommendation, Dr. Appel has given these benefits for using paper ballots. Number one, it avoids voting machine equipment altogether, all of which are hackable. Number two, it eliminates possible hacking of up to 8 layers of software vulnerabilities. Number three, paper ballots allow every candidate to show up on the ballot. Number four, paper ballots show definitively the voter's intention. And number five, supports the auditor's authentication of election count outcomes based on additional advantage of having ballot images. Paper ballots are also the only reliable method of recovery of votes in response to an alleged hacked or fraudulent outcome, whether nefarious or accidental or inadvertent. Number seven, paper ballots reduce the threat and other abuses directed toward election workers. Let's provide the taxpayers a secure, transparent, verifiable, and over the long haul, less costly method of voting to improve our voters' trust in every election. Democracy right now depends on this. Thank you, Jean, and all of those who are helping support DuPage County to choose paper ballots and retire touchscreens while allowing the BMD for disabled. Finally, I do have a copy of the DHS's recommendations. There are 9, but I just want to finish up with the first one. Number one, require voter-verified paper ballots. I'd like to thank you for your time. Please support Jean.
Judy Beaver.
Chairman Cronin and esteemed board members, I'm Judy Beaver, and I'm speaking on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Wheaton. It's going to be short and sweet. People have said pretty much everything I'd like to say, and so I've worked with computers most of my career, implementing computer systems, and all of you know that computer systems become obsolete, and all systems are updated, they're upgraded, and eventually new versions are developed. And old versions become obsolete and eventually are no longer supported. Clerk Kazmarek and her staff have done their due diligence, and so I strongly support funding the new HART election equipment as presented by her today. Thank you.
Okay, Becky Simon.
Good morning, Chairman and board members. I'm Becky Simon, excuse me, speaking on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Naperville. I'm especially proud to see so many Dupage leagues represented here today. The tools we use in life wear out and need to be replaced. Whether it is this roof over our heads, our car tires, or your knees, or your hips. Everything ages, breaks down, becomes obsolete. Are any of you out there using a cell phone from 2001? No, I don't think so. Similarly, election equipment is not eternal and everlasting. The proposal being delayed today is for badly needed new election equipment. A system that is 100% paper, 100% auditable, equipment that is made in the USA, not just assembled in the USA. As Carol said, DuPage County voters cannot continue to rely on outdated, second-hand election systems. Now is the time to replace DuPage County's election equipment. And as DuPage County board members, you must provide funding for functional, modern election equipment. Moving forward, the League of Women Voters of Naperville expects all members of the DuPage County Board to take advantage of opportunities presented to them to become educated about the election equipment and systems that are under consideration, and to do so in a timely fashion. No more delays. Thank you.
Okay, Robin Lambert Graham.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. But I'm Robin Lambert Graham. I grew up in DuPage County, and I served for the very first time as an election judge in that difficult November 2020. I was proud to serve, and I was really humbled by it. And I was also appalled by the equipment that I used. And some of it was just the physical part of actually trying to lift the boxes, set them up, move them around. They're all 20 years old. I think of how technology has changed in 20 years. 20 years ago, no cell phone, very limited internet, no social media. No one had heard of cybersecurity. Those weren't concerns. They're concerns now. I recommend that all the boards try sometime. If you haven't ever tried using our voting machines, I recommend you try it. It'll make you really respect your diverse election judges who are working there. I was proud to be serving with Republicans and Democrats at that election who were all working really hard to ensure that the voters got the opportunity to cast their ballot in the way they saw fit. I think it's very important for us to make this decision for the new equipment in time to get new judges trained. It's not simple, and it's not simple to get new judges trained, particularly during the pandemic and all the requirements there. So I want to just leave with saying I strongly support the county investing the necessary monies for the HART system because of its security and the paper ballots. And what could be more important to our democracy and to our county than ensuring a really reliable, fair election process? And for that, we need the right equipment. Thank you.
Okay, Drew Ryan. Drew Ryan?
Sir. Hello, Mr. Chairman, esteemed board members. My name is Drew Ryan. I live at 570 Amy Lane in Wheaton. I work for a firm called Election Systems and Software. I actually came, what I think was first in your RFP. but I came 1 point behind, and there's been a lot of talk about elections here today. But that was only based on 3 of the criteria for a total of 76 points for heart, 75 points for ES&S. The price did not come into play where in the RFP, it clearly states that the price is 20% of the RFP award. I am half of Heart InterCivic. So by the award alone, that should give me at least 3 extra points to procure the voting system for DuPage County. I'd also like to add, Election Systems and Software is the largest vendor in the United States for election equipment, services, and software. About 48% of the country does vote on our system one way or another. We can actually even reproduce the exact same way Hart votes. It's just a ballot on demand. That's all it is that you're paying $5 extra million for. I didn't mean that as a preachy moment, not by any means. We have McHenry County, we have Will County, we have Lake County, just some of the exact mid-sized counties as that you are dealing, that surround obviously Cook County and so forth. So we have about 48 counties in Illinois. We have a tremendous amount of know-how, of financial backing, the most up-to-date systems I've heard a lot today. Yeah, we do have more than ballot on demand. So I would just like to bring that up, that if we do follow the actual RFP from the DuPage election RFP, and you add in the price, we are the lowest score, or the highest score, by your own RFP. That's all I had today. I know it's been shelved, so I don't want to belabor the moment for any of you. But please, if anyone has any interest, please get a hold of me. I'm very easy to find. Election Systems Software, Andrew Ryan or Drew Ryan. I just live in Wheaton, and I'd be happy to go in further detail or any other information that you may need or would like to know about. Because I am a taxpayer in this county, and $5 million, I just didn't know that was nothing anymore. So that's all I had. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope to speak with some of you soon or later. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think that concludes our public comment. Am I correct, Mr. Deputy Clerk? Yes, sir. Mr. Assistant State's Attorney, pardon me? We do have a few electronic folks, forgive me, in the time remaining, which looks like to be like a minute or two. So why don't you go ahead? Who's got the electronic? Evan. We'll get through as many as we can in the next couple of minutes.
Good morning, everyone. This first comment is from Robert Schumacher. The subject is election recount. I will sue DuPage County if taxpayer dollars are used for a political stunt. The election has been certified. If he wants a recount, Illinois law says he should pay for it. Completely ridiculous. That is the end of his comment. Next comes from Stephen Neurotter. Subject, misuse of taxpayer money. DuPage taxpayers should not have to pay for Bob Grogan's recount. He was or should have been aware of the law that states he has to pay for those costs and went forward with the recount anyway. Therefore, he should have to pay for it. The DuPage County Board should not pass Bob Grogan's personal and political costs to the taxpayers. Doing so would be a misuse of taxpayer money. That is the end of that comment. Next is from Jim McCarthy. Subject, County Auditor Race Resolution. While public trust should be paramount for any elected official, we know that right now we are living in a time when public trust of elected officials is at an all-time low. One way to improve that would be to remove any doubt of election tampering by doing a complete recount for the county auditor's race, and doing so at no cost to the challenger. Asking a candidate in a dead heat race to come up with $56,000 is simply wrong. Normally compensated people, including DuPage County elected officials, do not have that kind of money to spend challenging a tied race. Set politics aside. This is about doing what is right for the very residents you serve. Do you want to do what is right, or do you want to preclude finding out if in fact there was tampering? As someone who has served the residents of the Bartlett Fire District for 16 years, I can tell you I have always done what is right for the residents. After this decision, will you be able to say the same? Please do what is right and cover the cost of this recount. Thank you. Next comment comes from Sandy Gustafson. Election recount financing. The person requesting the recount should pay for the recount. We need to avoid casual requests which are a risk if recounts are free. It may be okay if reimbursement/partial reimbursement after a successful challenge. That is the end of that comment.
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt you there, Evan. So we exceeded the 30-minute time frame just to complete and get a few of those comments in. Please be assured, folks that have submitted electronic commentary, that those comments will be included in the minutes of this meeting. I know all the board members carefully review the minutes on a regular basis, so your comments and your thoughts will be shared and received by this board, so thank you very much. That concludes our public comment. We move on to the next order of business entitled consent. Consent, is there a motion? There's a motion and a second on consent. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Zay.
Sorry, there's no minutes from the last county board meeting. Is there an issue, or those have to be filed in a certain amount of time, or no?
Those will be included with the next board packet.
Okay. We're not under any legal to get them up in a certain amount of days, or no?
Certainly out of the ordinary.
I believe you have one more meeting in which you can have them approved.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, where were we? There was a motion and a second on consent. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez. Aye. Covert.
Aye.
Desart. Aye. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia. Hart. Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy. Selman. Tornatore. Zay. And Krajewski.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. We move on to the next order of business entitled County Board, and that is Member Ashley Selman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move on CBR 406-21, a resolution for the appointment of Michael R. Kadoko as DuPage County Hearing Officer, Administrative Adjunction Program.
Been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatore. Zay. Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez. Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia. Hart. Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
And Schwarzy.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Selman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move CBR 407-21, resolution appointment of Andrew J. Nelson to the Lyle Woodridge Fire Protection District.
A motion and a second.
Leave.
Leave is granted. Thank you, Member Selman. On to the order of finance, Member Chaplin.
I'm sorry. I move to combine items A through G.
There's been a motion and a second to combine items A through G. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The items are combined. Please proceed.
Thank you. I move to approve FIR 038-4-21, resolution acceptance and appropriation of the program income for the Illinois Department of Healthcare and Family Services and visitation grant in the amount of $6,000. I move on FIR 038-521, acceptance and appropriation of the Illinois Department of Human Services Emergency Solutions Grant, $50,663. I move on FIR 038-621, acceptance and appropriation of the Illinois Home Weatherization Assistance Program, amount of $346,142. I move on FIR 038-721, acceptance and appropriation of the Aging Case Coordination Unit Fund, $5,919,000. I move on FIR 038-821, acceptance and appropriation of additional funding for the ILD CEO Community Services Block Grant, $178,983. I move on FIR 03821, acceptance and appropriation of additional funding for the 47th Year Community Development Block Grant, in the amount of $57,065. Well, that's an increase of $57,065. I move on FIR 039321, acceptance of the DuPage County Community Development Commission agreement for the Care Center for the south wing window replacement installation in the amount of $800,000.
On a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez. Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia. Hart. Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge. Schwarzy. Selman. Tornatore. And Zay.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Chaplin.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to pull item H.
With leave of the body, item H, hearing no objection, is removed from our agenda. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. I move on FIR 40821, revision to the personnel budget for the Judicial Circuit Court.
On a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez. Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia. Hart. Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge. Schwarzy. Selman. Tornatore. And Zay.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Chaplin.
Thank you, Chairman. I move on FIR 040921, placing names on payroll.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move on FIR 041021, approval and issuance of payments to small businesses and independent contractors through the Reinvest DuPage Small Business Grant Program in the amount of $8,140,751.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move on FIR 041121, revision to personnel budget, community services, ARPA item.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you, Chairman. I move on FIR 041221, budget transfers 82421, various companies and counting units.
Leave is granted. Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I move on FIR 041321, allocation of an additional $1,500,000 to choose DuPage to administer the Reinvest Small DuPage grant program.
Leave is granted.
Thank you. I would like to pull item O.
Sure. With leave of the body, seeing no objection, hearing none, the item is removed from the agenda. Please proceed, Member Chaplin.
Thank you. And finally, I move on FICO 049821, recommendation for the approval of the amendment to requisition 2016-297 for the purchase order number 2081-0001 for an agreement with Lanner Muchin Ltd. to provide additional professional legal services for tort liability employee practice liability cases, increasing the amount of by $50,000.
Ooh, okay. Member Desart, yes.
Thank you, Chairman. Questions? And I know I can't say too much because this is a legal thing, but I noticed that this is, the total is $225,000, an increase of 28.57%, services through November 30th, 2021. I see this is change order number 8. How many change orders are we going to see? Is this really going to be over by November 30th? I just have questions on how much more money we're going to throw at this thing in general terms.
I think the chief of the Civil Bureau is over there, and these are items that she handles directly, so I'll defer to her.
And I know it's legal, so I'll be careful with what I say, but it just seems like change order number 8 is a lot. Thank you for being here.
No problem. If I can just address it briefly. This is being handled, a case that's been going on for quite a period of time, and that's why we've come in probably at smaller amounts and smaller increments. And actually, it's going to be ongoing litigation. It's through budget year of November of this year. I mean, we're working on trying to come before the board to work that out in another way, so that way, anytime we have special assistance, they're ongoing representation. There's not a contract, there's special assistants. So we're trying to work that out so we can come in less. So I think we said it's smaller, but maybe we're going to try to increase that in the future so that way we're not making the request, because sometimes it's just hard to know how litigation is going to proceed.
Right, I understand.
I should also
I
note-
understand you don't have a crystal ball, but, so you're saying that we could anticipate, in this particular case, a change order number 9?
Well, I can anticipate that it's going to go past the November date. That's through the budget year. I should also note too, this is panel counsel, so we have, it's actually an agreement with that the county's insurance carrier employs the panel counsel and appoints them, but they become special assistants. So I just want to, they're a little different than sometimes an outright appointment. This is through panel counsel.
Okay, thank you. Member Krajewski, did you have something to add? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
We're going to give you this, but you're going to have money in this coming budget that we're going to approve for next year for the same case, because it's going next year.
Yes,
So
it's,
you're
it's
going
our understanding that we have to come in each year.
Yeah, so you're going to come, this case is going to continue on, so we're going to see it in our current budget, at least coming
Correct.
up for next year, your best guess.
Correct.
What it's going to be.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay. So we had a motion and a second. There was a request for leave, and leave is granted. Thank you very much, Member Chaplin, for your report. On to the order of Animal Services, Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move on ASP 0330-21. It's a recommendation for approval of a contract to Butler Animal Health Holding Company, LLC, for the purchase of our veterinary pharmaceuticals and medical supplies.
Been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Krajewski.
Aye.
LaPlante. Ozog. Lachowski. Renahan. Rutledge. Schwarzy. Selman. Tornatore. Zay. Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez. Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia. And Hart.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last, I have a motion for budget transfers, recommendations for approval.
Leave is granted. Thank you, Member Krajewski. On to the order of
Thank you, Mr.
development,
Chairman.
Member Tornatore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I was not available at development last week, and Vice Chair Garcia chaired that committee, I will defer to her to present this morning's motions.
Member Garcia.
Thank you, Chairman. We're going to go on to item A, 11A, DCR 0394-21, resolution revision to personal head count for Building and Zoning Department, FY21, Company 1100, Accounting Unit 2810.
Been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Garcia.
Aye.
Hart. Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge. Schwarzy. Selman. Tornatore. Zay. Chaplin. Chavez. Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. And Eckhoff.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Moving on to item B, I make a motion for DC 007721, ordinance Z21013A for 8 South 220 College Road, LLC, to approve the following zoning relief: a variation to allow a detached accessory building existing barn to remain in front of the front wall of the house.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
I'm gonna, okay. Quick question on this, because if we leave, are we approving this or are we denying this?
We approved it. Well, yeah, we approved that.
Okay, so we leave. Okay, thank you. Just being clear here.
Yeah, no, that's good for the record.
Okay. Moving on, item C, it's DC 00, I make a motion for DC 007821, ordinance Z21013B. Also, 8 South 220 College Road, LLC, to approve the following zoning relief: variation to allow for a gravel driveway in lieu of solid hard surface, to use CA6 for the driveway and concrete all around the house. And again, if the county board seeks to approve the zoning relief, it will require a 3/4 majority vote, 14 votes to approve, based on the recommendation to deny by the zoning hearing officer. ZHO recommendation and to deny DuPage County Development Committee.
Okay, there's motion and a second. We have Member Eckhoff seeking recognition for purposes of discussion, followed by Member Desart.
Just wanted to clarify what she just said, is that the zoning hearing official recommended a denial, and so did county development. So to be consistent with them, we can't take most favorable role with
That's
leave.
correct.
We have to vote no. And so I'm asking for a roll call vote.
Yes.
Okay, there was Member Desart seeking recognition.
And just to be clear, to be consistent with the zoning board's recommendation, a nay vote, we would need to vote nay, right? Correct? Thank you.
Okay, appears to be
Roll call,
no
please.
further discussion. There's been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Oh, a no vote is a yes.
Garcia.
Nay.
Hart. Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge. Schwarzy. Selman. Tornatori.
No.
Zay. Chaplin.
No.
Chavez. Covert.
No.
Desart. DeCiani. And Eckhoff.
Okay, resolution fails. Member Garcia.
Okay, going on to item D. Make a motion for DC 007-921 Z21037 Chicago Title Land Trust to approve the following zoning relief: variation to increase the height for a detached accessory building.
Everybody okay with that?
No,
okay.
you got to vote.
Yeah.
We're all no nays.
Then you got to do a most favorable vote no.
Most favorably negative.
There you go. That's what we got to do.
So I think on the safe side,
Clarity
we better-
on whether we can vote
should
for
do
leave
a
of the
roll
body
call. I
for
mean,
another day.
I understood what you were trying to achieve, but just to make the record
And to
perfectly
make the
clear.
record clear, especially when you're denying something, I would seek that you do a roll call for each individual one, if only to preserve the record.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second.
Roll
Mr.
call.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Garcia.
No.
Hart. Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge. Schwarzy. Selman. Tornatori.
No.
Zay. Chaplin.
No.
Chavez. Covert.
No.
Desart. DeCiani. And Eckhoff.
Okay, that resolution fails. Member Garcia.
Going on to item E, make a motion for DC 0008021 ordinance Z21042 to approve the following zoning relief: variation to allow a recreational trailer in front of the front wall of the house. 2, variation to allow to reduce the required front yard setback for a recreational trailer from 30 feet to approximately 3 feet. Asking for another.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Garcia.
No.
Hart. Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
No.
Schwarzy. Selman. Tornatori.
No.
Zay. Chaplin.
No.
Chavez. Covert.
No.
Desart. DeCiani. And Eckhoff.
Okay, the resolution fails. Member Garcia.
And finally, item F, make a motion for DC 0008121 ordinance Z21048 Garden Avenue Tattoo to approve the following zoning relief: conditional use to use the property as a tattoo studio pursuant to DuPage Code 37-802-21.
Then a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Garcia. Hart. Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy. Selman. Tornatori.
No.
Zay. Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez. Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. And Eckhoff.
Okey dokey. What is the 13 voting aye, 5 voting nay. The resolution is adopted. That concludes Member Garcia's report. on behalf of Member Tornatori and the Development Committee. We move on to the next order of business entitled Economic Development. Member Amy Chavez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to move approval of EDR 038121 resolution amendment to the resolution of EDR 0516-20, approval of issuance of payments by DuPage County to training providers through Workforce DuPage Opportunity Grant Intergovernmental Agreement 20681006. This is a $143,753 increase.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chavez.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia. Hart. Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman. Tornatori.
Aye.
Zay. And Chaplin.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Chavez.
I move approval of EDR 038321, resolution acceptance and appropriation of additional funding for the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, intergovernmental agreement number 20681006.
Leave is granted. Member Chavez.
I move approval of EDR 038321, resolution acceptance and appropriation of additional funding for the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity Trade Adjustment Assistance Grant Intergovernmental Agreement 19661006, in the amount of $16,120.
There's been a request for leave. Leave is granted. Thank you, Member Chavez. A fine report. On to the order of ETSB. Member Schwarzy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to approve item ETSR 56-21, acceptance of the Illinois State Police 911 System Consolidation Grant in fiscal year 22, intergovernmental grant agreement in the amount of $434,115.45.
Been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Schwarzy.
Aye.
Selman. Tornatori.
Aye.
Zay.
Aye.
Chaplin. Chavez. Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia. Hart. Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Pachowski. Renahan. And Rutledge.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Schwarzy.
Thank you. I move to approve item ETSR 380-21, a resolution to approve the intergovernmental agreement.
There's a request for leave. Leave, do I hear it? Yes, leave is granted. Thank you, Member Schwarzy. A fine report. On to the order of Health and Human Services. Member Renahan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. By quick way of committee update, I would like to acknowledge, I think a lot of us saw strikers outside of the care center this morning, and just want to kind of notify everybody that, just for your awareness, that there's been presented interim proposals to ask me to get paid to the staff. And now while the final contract is getting completed, the union continues to refuse proposals. So just by way of update, I wanted everyone to know that. Per the care center, very few COVID positive staff, 0 COVID positive residents. And on a positive note, 85% vaccination rate for staff and 93% for residents. So.
Very nice.
And with that, I will move approval of HHSR 39021, a resolution for approval of a third modification, CDBG, with Kids Above All, extending project completion date.
Been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Renahan.
Aye.
Rutledge. Aye. Schwarzy. Aye. Selman. Aye. Tornatori. Aye. Zay. Aye. Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez. Aye. Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart. Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. And Pachowski.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Renahan.
Move approval of HHSR 39121, resolution for approval of cancellation of CDBG agreement with DuPage County and Prairie State Legal, reprogramming $13,037.25.
Leave is granted. Member Renahan.
I move approval of HHSR 39221, recommendation for approval of cancellation of CDB agreement with DuPage County and Midwest Shelter for Homeless Veterans, $245,700 in reprogramming.
Leave is granted. Member Renahan.
I move approval of authorization for overnight travel, HMIS manager to National Human Services Data Consortium in Atlanta, Georgia, October 11th through 15, 2021, 2,165.
Leave is granted. Member Renahan.
Move approval of authorization, like also for overnight travel to the also Atlanta Data Consortium Senior Community Development Specialist, $2,023.
Leave is granted. Member Renahan.
And on this last item, I need to move to discharge the HHS committee for authorization for overnight travel, weather assessor to single-family QCI training for mandated state compliance in Champaign, September 6th to 12th, $1,000.
She's moving to discharge. Okay. There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The item is discharged. Member Renahan.
And with that, I'll move approval of authorization for that item, weather assessor to Champaign.
A motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Renahan.
Aye.
Rutledge. Schwarzy. Selman. Tornatore. Zay. Chaplin. Chavez. Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart. Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. And Pachowski.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Member Renahan. On to the order of legislative, Member Desart.
Thank you, Chairman. By way of a committee update, I'll just say what I said during our most recent committee meeting when I was a fresh, young, new county board member. On this board, I thought lobbyists were a waste of taxpayer dollars. I thought that we could lobby for ourselves. And I admit today that I am wrong. I was wrong. I was totally wrong. The success Chip Humes and Mark Polis have had on behalf of DuPage County initiatives has been worth every penny we've spent. And Bill Viney, our federal lobbyist, his advice and guidance, especially with the CARES Act and the American Rescue Plan funds from Treasury, has been absolutely priceless to this county. So I appreciate the work our lobbyists do on behalf of DuPage County, and I hope you'll join me in supporting them in the future. So with that, I will move to approve LEGP 0323-21, a recommendation for the approval of a county contract to BGR Government Affairs LLC to provide consulting services as lobbyists representing DuPage County before the U.S. Congress and the federal executive branch for DuPage County's Division of Transportation, Stormwater Management, and all other county departments and agencies. This contract covers the period of September 1st, 2021 through August 31st, 2022 for a county board for a contract total amount not to exceed $80,000.
There's been a motion and a second.
Just a little discussion, if I may.
Oh, sure.
Well, thank you, Chairman. So kind of piggybacking off of what Member Desart said, when I first came on the board, we had 5 lobbyists. And, you know, I complained about it all the time. And now we're down to 3. And I'm really pleased to see us down to 3. And I think we're spending like $120,000 less now on lobbyists than we did when I first came on the board. So I think that's really a positive move. I'm going to be supporting all 3 of these lobbyists, but I hope that maybe next year we can be down to 2 lobbyists, and I think 2 would be perfect, 1 at the federal level and 1 at the state. And I understand with COVID we may need a little bit more right now, but maybe we can get that down to 2, and I think that would be a perfect number. But I appreciate everybody's work on that and bringing it down.
Take that logic to its conclusion. Is it 0 your ultimate goal?
Well, I think 1 at each. I think 1 at each level would be sufficient. So I think we're getting there. So, and I do, you know, and has Member Selman mentioned, you know, she said that, you know, now since Member Desart's taken over the committee, we've had these lobbyists brought in, we've seen them, we've got to ask them questions, we know their faces, we know they exist, so it's been really positive.
Good.
Yep.
I'm glad.
Okay.
Happy. Very good transformation. Okay. Further questions? Member Zay.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess a while back when the Republicans were relevant in the state, that's why we had multiple lobbyists at that point. We had a Republican Senate, we had a Democratic House. That's why I think at the time we had different lobbyists for different levels. Now that there's the Democrats kind of have the power down there, I think that's why we've seen a drop-off of lobbyists. So I think that's why it was necessary at that time to have multiple lobbyists. But again, going down to 1 federal was a good idea. Hopefully, again, these lobbyists do a lot of work for us. Again, we started those meetings during CARES Act, you know, over a year ago when we were getting information from BGR. So we appreciate all their work, and hopefully they'll continue to do a great job for us.
Okay, further discussion? Okay, there's been a motion and a second, I believe, on this item 15A. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Desart.
Aye.
DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia. Hart. Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy. Selman. Tornatori. Zay. Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez. And Covert.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Desart.
Thank you, Chairman. I move to approve LEGP 0324-21, a recommendation for the approval of a county contract to Rashi and Sullivan Strategies, LLC, to provide consulting services as lobbyists representing DuPage County before the Illinois General Assembly and State Executive Branch. This contract covers the period of September 1st, 2021 through August 31st, 2022 for County Board for a contract total amount not to exceed $50,000.
There's been a motion and a second and a request for leave, and Member Salmon seeking recognition.
Thank you, Chairman. I do want to just echo my comments in legislative. I think last year when we looked at these contracts, I was in favor of the federal contract because we had contact with them. We had easy communication. And we've definitely seen now, I know what our state lobbyists actually look like. I've never doubted that they were doing work. I've never doubted that they're in contact with Cheryl Marquet, but in order to hear from our residents, they needed to talk to the elected representatives. So I commend Member Desart for making sure they actually came and were on our agenda, and I appreciate their work. I'll be happy to support these today. Thank you, Chairman.
Fabulous. Thank you. Yes, very nice. There's been a motion and a second, a request for leave. Leave is granted. Member Desart.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to move to approve LEGP 0325-21, a recommendation for the approval of a county contract to Roger C. Marquardt and Company, Inc. to provide consulting services as lobbyists representing contract covers, which covers the period of September 15th, 2021 through September 14th, 2022 for the county board for a contract total amount not to exceed $90,000.
Been a motion, second, leave. Leave is granted. Thank you, Member Desart. Very nice report, and thank you for your good work as the chair of this committee. I really do think you've been very engaged, and the fruits of your labor, everyone seems well informed about the value of lobbyists, so good job.
Thank you, Chairman.
On to the order of Public Works, Member Ozog.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for approval of FMP 033121, recommendation for the approval of a contract to the City of Wheaton for water utility services for the county campus for facilities management for the 4-year period, October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2025. Total contract amount not to exceed $2,870,000.
Been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ozog.
Aye.
Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy. Selman. Tornatori. Zay. Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez. Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia. Hart. Krajewski. And LaPlante.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Ozog.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for approval of FMP 033221, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Wheaton Sanitary District for sanitary sewer utility services for the county campus for facilities management for the 4-year period, October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2025, for a total contract amount not to exceed $1,850,000. Competitive bids not suitable for competitive bids, public utility.
Leave is granted. Member Ozog.
Thank you. I move for approval of FMP 033921, recommendation for the approval of a contract to ComEd for electric utility services for the non-connected county facilities for facilities management for the 4-year period, October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2025, for a total contract amount not to exceed $50,000. Again, not suitable for competitive bids, public utility.
Leave is granted. Member Ozog. Oh, he's there. Leave is granted. Member Ozog.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for approval of PWP 033821, recommendation for the approval of a contract to J. Congdon Sewer Services Incorporated for a water main extension in the Timber Lake subdivision for public works for the period August 21st, 2021 through June 1st, 2022, for a total contract amount not to exceed $805,009.63 per lowest responsible bid.
Okay, leave is granted. Thank you. On to the order of strategic planning. Member Covert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to update everybody on strategic planning. The Strategic Planning Committee continues to work on the goals articulated at the last Strategic Planning Committee meeting. these are being operationalized as we develop our budget priorities. I'd like to share the Complete Count Committee was created out of the Strategic Planning Committee, and last year, as the chair of Complete Count Committee, I was very happy and very thankful for most of our county board members that voted to create the Complete Committee for the 2020 census. It's a really good thing that we had an early start, because that early start has led to the success in our numbers. So we got a little bit of census information and we're seeing lots of great numbers here. Nothing's finalized. I mean, there's a lot of information that's still being finalized that will be available this fall. But what I do have right now is that we have the highest response rate out of, higher than the state. State's response rate, state of Illinois, was 71.4%, and DuPage County's response rate was 80.8%. So out of all the counties, we had the second, out of all the counties in Illinois, we had the second highest response rate. So I'm thankful I want to give a shout out to our 34 members on our Complete Count Committee. They did an amazing job, and they worked hard. We focused on hard to count populations, and we did it. So I'm really proud of our work here in DuPage County. Also, our diversity index went up from about 2 points. So we do see 2 percentage points. Diversity index has increased from 54.7% to 60.3%. So we do see more diversity in our area. The chance that 2 people chosen at random will be from different racial and ethnic groups. This indicates our state is becoming more diverse. So we're doing a great job in that. We're still working, as a co-chair of the Ad Hoc Diversity Inclusion Committee. We have a study underway that is being conducted, which will take about 12 months. We're looking into creating a D&I office and providing more economic opportunities to minority-owned businesses, minority business enterprise, disadvantaged business enterprise. So we are doing great in that. And I'm sorry, I apologize. I have allergies today. I am not sick. I just have allergies. And then one more thing that I wanted to mention was we passed the diversity inclusion early on. My first year when I was here, and again, unanimously passed my initiative. Very thankful for that. But I want to call your attention to the inclusion part of it. I feel that, and I want to work with the Rules Committee on this too, and I know Member Chaplin, Member Selman, mentioned this before, that the timings of the meeting, we need to work on that, and I'm happy to work with the Rules Committee because I want to be more inclusive to future mothers and women and caretakers who have children, under the age of 5, preschoolers, where they still have hope to be representatives at the county board level, because our earliest meeting is at 7:30 a.m. Most workplaces, office settings don't do that. Even court starts with the exception of criminal and traffic, court starts at 9 a.m. for lawyers. A lot of workplaces start at 9 a.m. and our earliest meeting starts at 7:30. So I'm not on technology, but I find myself lately continuously being late to finance meetings because I have to drop off my preschooler, at early around that time. And by the time I get here, driving over here, I am late. And I don't want that to be, perceived as, that I couldn't be there or anything, because that's not the issue at all. And what I'm asking for is not for myself, but it is an issue that came to light, and I experienced it as a mother of a child under 5 years of age. So I really think that if we could just push back the time maybe from 8 o'clock to 8:30, or if we could look at evening meetings possibility. I know that was a discussion, but I do want to make county board more inclusive of mothers with small children. So we set them up for success, future people, not just me, me included as well, but future board members, mothers of small children, so we can be more inclusive. So I'm probably going to be calling a meeting, planning a meeting, strategic planning to discuss this, but I wanted to get a general consensus. There's a lot of parents in the room, you know, and I'm sure you guys remember your days when you had a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old. And I just wanted to get a general idea if that's agreeable up for discussion through the Rules Committee or strategic planning. So, you know, a raise of hands maybe if you're interested in discussing this.
I don't see, yes, Member LaPlante, Member Chaplin, Member Chavez, yeah, it looks like, and Member Hart, yes, good bipartisan support for this discussion, yes, very nice.
Thank you. Thank you. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Could I make a comment on that, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Thank you so much. So, you know, Member Cooper, thanks for bringing this up because for about the last 4 years, I've been trying to have all of our committee meetings times reworked because, you know, a lot of times I'm missing environmental half the time because I'm in JPS. So it is, I think our whole schedule needs to be relooked, you know, because like I said, a lot of our board meetings overlap, but, and I hope we can get to that, but I'm guessing that probably wouldn't take effect until after the 2022 election. But I do think reworking our schedule is something to definitely look at. So thank you.
Very good, yes. Member Selman.
Thank you. Just an update of where this discussion's fallen in Rules Committee. We've all agreed that the committees need more time to meet. The discussion of starting them a little later hasn't come up, but when we come back from hiatus after the budget schedule, I think that's absolutely worthy of discussion. But just we're working on a schedule to try to expand the days a little bit so that, you know, I know environmental is one that I've missed before when I served on it too, just because everything gets crammed in. So we're heard, just staff can only work on so many things at once, so
Yeah,
thanks.
No, I'm glad you're working on it. I know that there's been a good amount of discussion, and I anticipate there will be some changes in the future. So, well, thank you, Member Covert. A fine report. On to the order of technology, Member Selman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move on TEP 345-21, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to CDW Government for annual maintenance and support of Veritas Network Backup Software. This is a contract amount of $39,617.97, purchased via the Governmental Joint Purchasing Act.
It's been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Selman.
Aye.
Tornatore.
Aye.
Zay. Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez. Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia. Hart. Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
And Schwarzy.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Member Selman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move on TEP 346-21, a recommendation for the approval of contract purchase order to Cara Company, Inc.
Leave is granted. Thank you, Member Selman. On to the order of transportation, Member Don Pachowski. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. I would move to approve DTR 39921, an awarding resolution to meeting for the traffic signal/street maintenance program for an estimated county cost of $3,221,423.76, which is low bid.
Been a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Pachowski.
Aye.
Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy. Selman. Tornatore. Zay. Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez. Covert.
Aye.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia.
Aye.
Hart. Krajewski. LaPlante. And Ozog.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Move to approve
Member
DTR
Pachowski.
400-21, a contract with SKC Construction for the 2021 Pavement Preservation Crack Sealing Program for an estimated county cost of $22,100.
Leave is granted. Member Pachowski.
Move to approve DTR 402-21, a local technical assistance grant from the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning CMAP for the development of corridor land use transportation along Illinois Butterfield Road within the community of Lombard, Downers Grove, Oak Brook, and unincorporated
Leave is
DuPage
granted.
for $4,800. Move to approve DTR 40321, an integral agreement between the County of DuPage and Downers Grove Township Road District for the Downers Grove Township 2020 Road Maintenance Program, no county cost.
Leave is granted. Member Pachowski.
Move to approve DTR 40421, a local agency agreement between the County of DuPage and Illinois Department of Transportation
for central signal system expansion
Leave
at
is
various
granted.
locations for estimated cost of $1,500,140. I would move to combine and approve agenda items F through J, which are all contracts.
Been a motion and a second to combine these items. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The items are combined. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to approve DTP 34021, a contract to Huff and Huff for professional environmental screening service upon request of Division of Transportation, Public Works, and Facilities Maintenance for a total contract not to exceed $250,000. Move to approve DTR 341-21, a contract to Genuine Parts, DBA Napa Auto Parts to furnish and deliver automotive and repair and replacement parts as needed for a cost not to exceed $600,000. Move to approve DTP 34221, a contract to Priority Products, Inc. to furnish and deliver weatherhead, hydraulic fittings, hoses, connections as needed for Department of Transportation for a contract not to exceed $40,000. Move to approve DTP 34321, a contract to Standard Equipment Company for a contract to furnish and deliver Elgin Sweeper and Vector Catch Basin parts for a contract total amount not to exceed $119,600. And move to approve DTP 34421, contract with Monroe Equipment to furnish and deliver Monroe spreader plow repair replacement parts for a contract not to exceed $60,000.
Leave is granted.
Move to approve DT 83-21, an ordinance authorizing execution of an underground agreement between the County of Dupage and the City of Wooddale for land transfers.
Leave is granted.
Move to approve DT 8421, an additional appropriation for the Downers Grove Township Reimbursement Fund, $1,500 for $500,000.
Leave.
Move to approve DTR 314B20, an amendment to a resolution issued to Alliance Contractors, Inc. for 2020 Veers Bridge Repair Section Work to decrease the funding $104,211, resulting in a new contract cost of $1,527,873.52, a decrease of 3.6%.
Leave is granted.
And finally, authorization travel for one staff member to attend the 2021 fall meeting of the Illinois Association of County Engineers, October 6th to 8th in Peoria for an estimated county cost of $732.50.
Leave is granted. Thank you, Member Pachowski. A fine report. Very fine, very fast. On to the order entitled Discussion. The next item is discussion. We're familiar with this. Obligated by the Local Government Wage Increase Transparency Act. Anyone seeking recognition on this? Seeing none, hearing none, we move on to the next order of business entitled Old Business. Old Business, things that happened in the past. Member Chaplin.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. So, first of all, I'd just like to touch base on a little bit about what Mayor Pisak talked about earlier in public comment about the Lyle levy. So, as I know, all my District 2 and 5 members know, you know, that levy has been a huge issue. Actually, Lyle and flooding has been a huge issue. So, there's been a lot of studies done, and members, they can attest to this. And I think we are all in agreement that we want to help and work with Lyle, but I think we want to work on a comprehensive plan that's going to actually solve the problem. So I think, Jim, if I'm misspeaking that, I think we're committed to helping them. Just it's the matter of the plan that we choose to work to, the plans that we bring forward.
Yeah, I mean, after he spoke, I talked to Sarah. We're going to get a comprehensive email to all of you on what's going on.
Great.
The plan they want to do really doesn't fix a lot, and it's kind of misleading for us to spend a lot of money on something that's actually going to lower the levels out there. So we've been working on that. So we'll get an email out explaining the whole process to all the board members.
Great, thank you so much. And then, secondly, under old business, I'm very pleased that you're putting Juneteenth on as a holiday. Back in June of 2020, I recommended the county make it, you know, a holiday, and I was kind of got pushed back, and I told that, you know, maybe it wasn't the most valuable way to celebrate it. And even this year when we did the program with COD, there were some remarks made how it's better to do this than have it as a holiday. But I'm really pleased to see that we are going to be recognizing it as a holiday, and I think it's a really good move, and I hope that when this is brought forward that the board supports Juneteenth as a holiday, because I do think the significance and the recognition of it is very important. And I think by having it as a holiday, it'll bring it to focus and more people will learn about it. So I just wanted to thank you for adding that to the 2022 calendar. Yes, my goodness, right? So thank you.
Anyone else seeking recognition on the order of old business? Old business. Moving on to the next order entitled New Business. Member to start. followed by Member DeCiani.
Thank you, Chairman. I mentioned this at the beginning of our meeting, but I want to mention again that many thanks to Karen Ayala for her update from the DuPage County Health Department, and I'm having my second District 5 COVID-19 vaccine clinic this Sunday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It is the Pfizer vaccine, so anyone 12 and up is welcome. Walk-ins are also welcome. Secondly, I wanted to just mention again Team Rubicon. During the Father's Day tornado, a lot of homeowners in my district found out that, you know, a lot of the things were covered by insurance, like the windows, the siding, the roofs were covered by insurance, but they found out that other things, like tree removal, was not covered by insurance. And Team Rubicon went in there, and I know a lot of elderly people who didn't have the means to remove the trees falling in their yard. Team Rubicon came in and did that job. So I just wanted to say, if I could make a plug for this amazing organization, and they help people in my district, that if you go onto their website, you can find, if you're so inclined to donate, you can hit the donate button for Team Rubicon. And thirdly, just a sincere and collegial public thanks to Member Zay for providing coffee in the break room. Thank you. What a guy, Member Zay. Thank you so much.
What about donuts?
Pardon me?
Did he get donuts too, or no? Just coffee?
No donuts. But he did, man of my heart, he did bring lots of cream, and I like a little coffee with my half and half, so thank you, Member Zay.
Real cream or the fake cream?
The half and half is fine.
Yeah.
And those are my comments. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Anyone else seeking recognition? We have Member DeCiani.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 points of notes here. Tomorrow night, we talked about the tornadoes that hit Woodridge and Naperville and Darien. There is a fundraiser at Bobax in Woodridge, sponsored by the Woodridge Rotary, to help residents, many of which did not have insurance, rebuild and come back from this disaster. So Mayor Gina Cunningham is hosting that along with the Woodridge Rotary at Bobax tomorrow night. Tomorrow. I believe it starts at 6 p.m. And then secondly, we had a tragic loss of a police officer from Chicago, Miss Ella French. And, it's challenging to lose a police officer, for any reason. But here it's a woman, 29-year-old woman who was literally gunned down and tragically lost her life, nearly along with her partner as well, who's survived but is still in very grave condition. But Miss Ella French is from Downers Grove. She went to Downers Grove North High School. She's from District 2. And I'd like to see this county board do a resolution on her behalf and invite her family, who I think gave the ultimate sacrifice, and that's the loss of a daughter. So if you'd be kind enough, I'd be happy to write it with you and put it forward. But
Fine.
I know I went down to the 16th District. My friend John Garrido, Lieutenant, put a very nice memorial on. John almost lost his life in the line of duty, and thought it was important that we recognized her. And I went on behalf of our county. I know State's Attorney Bob Berlin went to her service. Thank you for recognizing that officer. But it's a tough job these people have, and the city of Chicago is under siege, and Cook County is totally out of control. So, but here a girl from DuPage gave up her life, and I think it needs to be acknowledged and noted. And
it's a good suggestion. We'll get right on that. It's a good thought. Anyone else seeking? Member Krajewski, followed by Member Schwarzy.
Just real quick to pick up on what Member DeCiani stated. There's the photo that went around with her holding that dog. There is a petition that's being circulated right now down Chicago to rename the Chicago Animal Care and Control Center after Officer Ella French. So just let people know that they are circulating a petition to try to get the city to name their animal control care center after her.
Member Schwarzy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick thank you to all those who offered public comment today, especially those that were here in person, talking about the election equipment. The folks that spoke today are the people that get down and dirty in the trenches, being many of them were election judges and League of Women Voter representatives. So just a quick shout out to them. They're looking to do what they can to make sure DuPage continues its safe and fair election. So that's all. Thank you.
Further discussion on the order of new business? Was there anyone else seeking recognition? Okay, we move on to the next order of business entitled Executive Session. I am reliably informed that we do have a few matters to discuss under pending litigation. Yes, sir. So that would be pursuant to Open Meetings Act 5, ILCS 120/2C11. We will organize ourselves in executive session. I'm going to ask everybody to remain seated. We will ask folks that are not permitted to be in the room or not appropriate to be in the room for executive, please excuse yourselves. I'll entertain a motion to organize our. So moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Desart. DeCiani. Eckhoff. Garcia. Hart. Krajewski. LaPlante.
Thank you.
Ozog. Pachowski. Renahan. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy. Selman. Tornatore. Zay. Chaplin.
Aye.
Chavez. And Covert.
Aye.
Okay, so as soon as we get set up, pardon me? When you say few minutes, how long is that? All right, because I'm afraid I don't want to lose folks. Please stay seated unless you really got to go. I already paused. I'm looking. Hey, can you, Don? Tuesday, September 14, 2021 at 10 a.m. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Meeting adjourned. Okay, buddy. Thank you. Yes, I did my best.